Okay,
for it.
yeah, go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Those Two Geeks. He's Alex. I'm Joe. This is us, believe it or not, for the third time today due to a phone update, but you don't know that. So through the magic of shifty editing, we are back. This is our regular show, but we're doing something very, very, very different. If I sound like I'm talking like Barry Allen running for a coffee, it's because we're trying to fit everything into 10 minutes. We're going to do an experiment to see if we can do a speed round. So Alex and I were talking before the phone died, but we'll just go back to it. I picked up the X-Men 97 Wolverine. First figure I've picked up in a little bit from Hasbro, and I'm blown away by it. Just the simple, tiny changes they've made from the VHS has just blown me away. It's on par with, import level as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. Like it's arguably my favorite figure I've picked up in quite a while, and I did not think that when composing my year-end list, because I obviously isn't the last figure I'll pick up this year, but when composing my year-end list, I did not expect a Wolverine figure to be so high up on
Which
that.
is interesting because of how much you love Wolverine.
But the thing is that so many of the figures have just been basically reused, slight new bits here and there, right? So that's why I was surprised by that. A figure that will absolutely not be making the top 10 list is the Doc Ock from the Aunt May 2-pack in the VHS.
That hurt my heart.
Now, obviously, Aunt May is as expected. I wasn't expecting much from that. It's exactly what you expect it to be. Basically, a statue that can move a little bit at the knees, ankles, and arms. Fine, whatever. You don't expect much more from that. Obviously, the real draw of that 2-pack is Doc Ock, and tentacles are great. They bend a bit. Wonderful. Finally got what we needed. Head is fine. Head is actually pretty good. Legs are whatever, but it's the torso, and for me, the shoulder joint, like the shoulder cuts, are just gummy enough that I was trying to lift the arm up a little bit. And one of the shoulder joints is stuck. Now, you can probably loosen it with heat, but you can't get your fingers on the actual joint itself to gently work it because the shoulder pad is part of the body, so you can't lift it, move it, like with the Wolverine ones where you can just pop them off, adjust the shoulder, and pop it back on. So the upper body. The ball at the waist doesn't really have any movement. Now, you don't expect Doc Ock to have a lot of movement, but not being able to move the arms at all and they feel really gummy, it's definitely more of a disappointment than not.
The gumminess is Hasbro's greatest downfall with Marvel Legends. When they're 100%. Gummy, they're really gummy. Like Jean Grey for the animated line, I ended up getting rid of and Storm. Because those legs were so gummy. It was like, just, that's not what you want for an action figure. You
not at all.
Want it to fall apart. And like Doc Ock, that wasn't a cheap 2-pack. I'm assuming it was more for you. But for us, States, it was, $54. So, and everyone was clamoring for that Doc Ock. But it's interesting what you're having issues with on yours, because the biggest issue I see for the most part repeated is people bitch about those tentacles so much.
Yeah, I mean, they can't hold him up in any way, shape, or form, and they pop out pretty easily from the back.
That's what it was popping out so much.
Yeah, like once you get it in enough, they're fine. And once I knew that going into it that they weren't going to hold him up without like some kind of stand. So oddly, that didn't bother me. It was everything else that failed with him, right? So.
Right. The functionality should have been there and all that stuff, especially for a figure that price, I have the Peter Parker and Smythe, but I got rid of Smythe. Nothing wrong with Smythe. Just didn't do it for me as a figure. Don't like the design of him from the animated series. I think the weird like mullet cut is just terrible. I liked the long hair in the Spider Slayer like comic book. That was a beautiful design. But that Peter Parker figure, for me, it's weird. These animated figures, when they hit them out of the park, they're hitting them out of the park, like the Wolverine we were just discussing. And the Peter Parker. They're two front runners of the year for me. It's Peter Parker, but my God, he's the perfect Peter Parker. And he could double as a regular 616 Peter Parker. And I don't know what it is, like McFarlane and DC Collectibles with the animated series, they're like almost maquettes of what's on the show. Like they are so animated, it hurts. The animated Wolverine, like X-Men 97 and animated Spider-Man series from Marvel, they're animated, but they also can double as contemporary 616.
Yeah.
Because somehow, like the Logan head sculpt, yeah, it's clearly animated, but also it's clearly the best Logan head sculpt I've seen outside Mezco.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting is that it
crazy.
It straddles the line. Unlike the cell shaded, where it's clearly animated, clearly cell shaded, and that's the style they're going for.
Right.
This is like it hovers right between what it's trying to be, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just perfect. Like I said, Peter Parker, you throw him in with your 616. I personally, surprise, not a fan of the animated Spider-Man figure. I don't like the Buck. It's too small. It's the Amazing Fantasy Buck with a bigger head. And it just doesn't fit right. Like size-wise, he doesn't fit with Peter Parker right.
Yeah, see, I find that like I don't mind the Amazing Fantasy's young Spider-Man.
No.
But yeah, for an animated, he should be the same size as Peter Parker.
Yeah, but when you pop the Peter Parker head off and throw it on the retro body like I showed you, it's perfect. Unmasked Peter Parker. Like
it's so weird.
The Mary Jane, she's spot on too for the animated series, but also a contemporary Mary Jane that's very conservatively dressed. Like it's so strange the line they hit. The Goblin, he looks amazing. His head sculpt is perfect. His joints are another thing. Those legs and those arm joints are so goddamn gummy, and it's such a shame.
It sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like his arm joints are so gummy to the point where at the elbows you feel like you're gonna tear them, like tear it straight off.
Yeah,
and not like the peg will pop out and you can pop it back in. I mean, you'll like rip it somehow, almost like a piece of like Play-Doh. It's frustrating because he looks perfect, but but yeah, we only have a few more moments.
Yeah,
but
so one thing I'll bring up, we were meaning to talk about this for the last 2 weeks on the show, and obviously you haven't been here, so I've been holding off on it. Do you remember I told you I finally swore in my citizenship ceremony? So I told you what book I did it on, because obviously they wanted you to, they say you can do it on a holy book if you feel the need to. So what book is more holy to a comic nerd than Incredible Hulk 181?
To you especially,
right?
Comic book nerd. And like, what was the reaction when you used that book?
No, you can't see it on camera, so they didn't see it because it was all virtual, right? So I did it at home. So it was literally, it was a moment for me and Mandy. She's like, and she shook her head and she's like, that's so you. So she thought it was funny. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, the people that I care about are going to find this incredibly amusing.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to make for a good story on the show.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, continue on. I'm so proud of you. I mean, God, I don't even know what that must feel like, because
it's honestly not a huge amount different. I think you'll notice it more when I travel again, and when we, next time we go on a road trip through the States, it will be easier to come into the States, oddly enough, with a Canadian passport than a UK one. But other than that,
the Canadian accent.
I've been trying for years and it just doesn't seem to want to go that way. So I don't think it'll ever fully come in.
Just don't do like the, I don't know if it's like Ontario or whatever. I don't know. The ones that are in the woods, whatever. Like they talk, they're all over TikTok. I mean, they're like, "Yeah, bud, how you doing, bud? Everything's great."
Yeah, that's like a stereotypical one, right? Like I more than anything. So that I don't think will ever really come in, but. I mean, there's definitely, as I'm sure you're aware, there's words I'll use that I wouldn't use back home. So,
yeah. But it's so funny. I was on a podcast with Dan, who I was on the Legends of Liquor a couple weeks ago. And somebody said apples and pears, and I'm like, I felt like Captain America. I'm like, I know that reference. And they were like, what? I was like, you mean going up the stairs? And they were like, yeah, how did you know that? And then I was like, oh, and then I said something, and Bob's your uncle. And they were like, what? And they were like, that's surprisingly accurate. And then they said another one, which I wish I could remember. And I was like, yeah, no, you lost me. I don't know what the hell that is. I'm like, I got apples and pears, though. They're like, we're impressed either way.
Yeah,
So,
like that's just it. Apples and pears is it's a really old one,
yeah.
but not one that you would typically hear this side of the pond.
No, but it's Cockney slang, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they had a ton of them, and I'm like, all right, guys, you guys are showing off now. I knew the one, and I was very happy. But it was like, it was totally the Avengers when he said, "Oh, Loki's flying monkeys," and he's like, "Oh,
I got that reference.
I got that reference," and everyone's like, rolling their eyes. But yeah, no, dude, couldn't be more proud of you. Yeah. I wish we had more time on the show today, but now that I'm settled in a new place, everything's aligning. You seem to be a little bit more settled. We're going to be back to basics and back to form with Matthew next show, and that will be a great time. You know, I'm just so happy to be talking to you again because
I'm actually really surprised that we haven't spoken wrestling this episode, but I think that's more because we know what's coming next episode.
Yeah,
episode after I don't know.
I'll touch on wrestling very, very quick, like 2 seconds. I was disappointed with Crown Jewel. I was honestly disappointed.
Yeah, obviously didn't watch it. I think I even covered it a little bit in that I didn't watch it, and I wasn't
because I thought it was in your header or something.
Like I think I covered it a little bit, so I won't go back over my thoughts, but I will, but it was effectively very much nothing surprised me about it.
It was telegraphed all the way down to the only thing that surprised me was Cena getting destroyed by Solo Sikoa.
Oddly that I'm not surprised because he seems to be very big on paying back right now. And
he is, but the last time he did it like this was Brock Lesnar in 2014, where Brock Lesnar just annihilated him for 19 minutes. It was suplexes. It was the most one-sided thing. And after Cena's promo, because he's still there, but now that the writer's strike and the actor strike is over, he's probably going to be leaving, toot sweet. He might not be back. Yeah, I just thought, okay, he hasn't won in 2000 and change days, he said, a singles match. And it's like they're going to have a big knockdown back and forth where Cena pulls out against all the odds, and Solo can take it. He's young. I did not expect Solo to just go over him and steamroll him the way he did. Without Paul Heyman, too. It was very odd. It was just Solo was out there. No presentation. Just destroyed him. I mean, Cena had some offense at the beginning, and then it was just a one-sided affair, and it was crazy. But the thing that really bothered me the most about the pay-per-view, Seth and Drew was amazing, by the way. I just didn't like the result. I think Drew should have won. I was bummed. I really think they fucked up with LA Knight. LA Knight is so hot that putting him against Roman in a basic paint-by-numbers Roman wins match with the regular Roman shenanigans that have been done on everybody else, it just, it left such a bad taste in my mouth. Like, this was the time to do something different. I mean, not necessarily have LA Knight win. I mean, I didn't think they'd be that bold, but he really should have been like as close as any superstar has ever come so far, including Cody.
I think what would have left a better taste in the mouth was, instead of Roman winning clean or how he did, have LA Knight win by DQ, where the ref comes in and catches them in the act. So LA Knight technically has the win, but because it's a DQ, it doesn't carry over. So
yeah, I would have been fine. The match didn't gel. I didn't like two of them together. Some people just don't click. I think LA Knight and Seth Rollins would have been a hell of a lot better, and it would have been much better for LA Knight to challenge for that title. But I don't know what made them want to do Roman, and it just makes me sad because I don't think we're going to see LA Knight with a title of that magnitude. Definitely not the Universal title anytime soon. I think it's earmarked for Cody at this point. They're all but like telling you, hey, this is Cody's belt, And it's like, that's fine. I love Cody, but I don't like it telegraphed. And you're going on 4 years of Roman as champion. 4 years. Like, I think it's run its course. I do not think you can go any further. But I'm a little worried because, and then I'll let you go because I know you got to go. On SmackDown the past couple of weeks, they've been really bringing up that Roman is now the third longest title reign in WWE, WWF history, only behind Hulk Hogan and San Martino.
Yep.
I am so actually worried that they're going to try to make Roman number one, which would mean to dwarf San Martino would be another 3.5 years. There's no way they can get another 3.5. First of all, give the guy a break. He's been a force forever.
You say give the guy a break. I feel like you haven't seen him wrestle in so long that it.
That's true. Right. Yeah.
And I think that's actually part of the problem. Isn't that he's had it for so long? It's that when he does come in, you're just seeing the same. It's like an AC/DC song.
Yeah.
AC/DC released a new song. Well, you've probably heard it already.
Yes, you're right.
Roman Reigns has a new match. Well, you know how it's going to end. You know it's going to be bloodline interference. It's going to go on for about 20 to 30, 25 minutes. It's going to be somewhat like it's beyond predictable at this point. It's only when it comes to Mania and Cody that you think, well, Cody might be able to do it this time.
Right. If they do 2 in a row of Cody losing at Mania, then they're going to lose everybody. No one's going to want to watch WrestleMania until they're sure Roman's going to lose because they can't get another 3.5 years out of this.
Well, that's just it. Like I feel like it's at the point where now at this point we're just wait, like, oh, Roman's on here, whatever. But anyway, on that vein, I do have to run, so I will.
Yep. So this was a great little chat and preview for a nice warm up for our next show. And you go take care of whatever you have to do.
Yep, I will. I'll catch you all on the flip side.
Later.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.